Assalamu alaikum. Get to know your Lord. First part of the Right Belief series by Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid. This dynamic literary work of art's main goal is to revive an understanding the names and attributes of Allah. And understanding the name and attributes of Allah will elevate our faith, strengthen us, and keep us steadfast. This wonderful book is now available in an audiobook format and can be found free of charge on YouTube, channel Karim Abu Zaid. Get to know your Lord. You have nothing to lose.
You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salamullah, wa rasulullah. I want to welcome everybody to our first class for today, our second class for today, which is our Aqidah class. And we are speaking about the importance of implementing wal Bara, allegiance and disassociation in our everyday lives as Muslims. We just had a holiday here in America that the non-Muslims make a big deal out of. What's it called? The 4th of July. A lot of the Muslims had asked me, Sister Laila, is it okay that we celebrate the 4th of July? Again, this is where you have to implement the second part of that shahada, which is wal Bara. No, it doesn't have anything to do with worshiping Allah, but it's a matter of allegiance. Is your allegiance to the early settlers of America? When we declare la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah is our allegiance to a country. Are we pledging allegiance to a flag? Are we pledging allegiance to a people, a nation other than Muslims? We have nothing to do with independence of the early settlers. We have nothing to do with Paul Revere, George Washington, and Jefferson, and how America fought against England and declared its independence so that they don't have to practice a religion anymore, that they can establish Masonry. Masonry is against Islam. They can establish Zionism. That's what Masonry is, Zionism. So what are you celebrating? You're celebrating when America was able to become free of religion and implement Zionism. And you people are protesting against the war in Gaza. What hypocrisy. You're protesting against the war in Gaza on one hand, and then you're celebrating America's ability to establish Zionism. What hypocrisy. You Muslims, y'all better start thinking. Not everything that we do entails worship. But everything we have to ask ourselves, is this impeding on our allegiance? I don't have allegiance to America. I don't have allegiance to a flag. I don't have allegiance to no early settlers unless they were Muslim. The only early settlers that I have allegiance to are those companions of the prophet that migrated from Mecca to Abyssinia, or that migrated from Mecca to Yemen, or Mecca to Medina. Our allegiance are to the Muslims, not to non-Muslims. So that's why you don't celebrate the 4th of July. It has nothing to do with us. It's not part of who we are united with. We respect other people's religions. I'm not going to stop them, the non-Muslims. The non-Muslims blew off their fireworks. They still are. I don't bother them. That's their business. I'll sit there and look at them. You can look at them. You can't help but see them. They all in the sky. We show respect for other people's way of life. But does that mean that we join in and celebrate? No. And that's what we're going to be speaking about today. And let me put the PowerPoint up today, because we emphasize allegiance and disassociation in our everyday lives, just like you should have implemented with this 4th of July. We don't participate in it. We don't celebrate it, because our allegiance is not to the early settlers of America. It's not to America anyway. We respect America's laws, but we don't have allegiance to them. Just like we don't vote for their presidents. Okay, we respect their government and all of that, but we don't support them by voting for them and putting them in office, like a lot of you Muslims are doing, which is haram. And y'all wonder why Allah is punishing you in your everyday lives. So, our lives entail emphasizing allegiance and disassociation. And we'll be covering pages 389 to 392. Like I said, I'm skipping around a lot because he put a lot of emphasis on how to establish an Islamic school. I'm not trying to teach y'all how to do that, but I do want you guys to know how to use it. Jihad, critical thinking. How to use critical thinking, how to make the right decisions in your everyday life. And again, wala refers to having allegiance, loyalty, and love for Allah. Allegiance, loyalty, and love for the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allegiance, loyalty, and love for the Muslims, not non-Muslims. And it represents a bond that we are supposed to have with Allah and our Muslim community and with our religion. And it signifies a connection that shapes our relationships and our daily actions, because we're going to always be weighing everything we do. All of our choices in life are going to be weighed against, am I violating my allegiance to Allah, to the Prophet, or the religion, or the believers? And wal Bara, this refers to disassociation. I'm going to disassociate myself from what contradicts Islam. I'm going to disassociate myself from any beliefs that contradict my beliefs. I'm going to disassociate myself from anything that leads to sin. So wal Bara, it symbolizes our commitment to distancing ourselves from those actions, people, groups that oppose Islamic principles. Like I said, we don't go around stopping the non-Muslims from celebrating their holidays. That's their business. But do I participate in it? No. Do I imitate them and celebrate it too? No. Can I watch it? You can't help but see it. You see the fireworks going off around you. They're beautiful to look at. No, nowhere does Allah say I can't look up and see. You need to know what's going on, because one might fall on you. Oh yeah, it happens in the news today. Somebody was shooting off firecrackers here where I live, and one of the crackers hit a person's house. So you better look up and see what's coming down on you. Because remember, what goes up must come down. So y'all better look up. So our everyday lives, Our everyday lives are spent implementing the concept and principles of allegiance and disassociation. We use it in our decisions. We use it even when choosing friends. We have to ask ourselves, is this sister someone who's going to help me in my journey to get close to Allah, or is she someone that's going to cause me to fall back into sin? So, practicing allegiance and disassociation is a must. If you want to maintain your Muslim identity, if you want to maintain your faith and live in an environment where most of the people don't believe in Allah, where most of the people are not practicing Islam. Okay? And that's the type of environment or society that all of us mostly live in. We live in a multicultural society. We have people who believe in Allah, people who don't. People who say they do, but in reality they don't. We have Wiccans, we have atheists, we have Buddhists, Hindus. So in a multicultural society, we Muslims face the challenge every day of maintaining and protecting our Islamic identity. When we're surrounded by other cultures, we're surrounded by other beliefs. And so what we're going to speak about, and that's why I skipped to this chapter. And this chapter, Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid highlights the significance of prioritizing wal Bara in our personal and daily lives to help keep that identity in place, and also to set a good example for others. Like I was telling someone today, none of us will ever have the faith that the companions had. That's impossible. Allah already said that they are not like you and me. Just like the prophets of Allah. The prophets of Allah will never have the faith they had. They were the best of mankind. And the companions were the best of mankind too. So you will never, ever, ever have the type of faith and practice they had. But you can try to maintain your identity the way they did, and in turn set a positive example for yourself and others. Everybody understand that? Okay? And again, it begins with what makes us different. What is it that made the prophets of Allah different? What is it that made the companions different? What is it that makes the true believers different? Their prayer. They believed in Allah and they would worship Him on a regular basis. Prayer is the foundation in Islam. And as Muslims, we remember Allah by performing it not once a week like the Christians do, not only when times get hard like other people do. We are mandated to perform it 5 times every day. And this stands out as an evident act of worship in Islam. It's an obligation, not a choice. I've heard one Muslim woman say that prayer is a choice, not an obligation. No, it's not. It's an obligation. If you truly believe in Allah, you will stop what you're doing during those time periods. You will put aside your life in this world to remember Allah. When you're traveling, even when you're sick, we pray. Even if we're fighting on the battlefield, we pray. Okay, so, that is how we emphasize to Allah our belief and commitment to Him. That's one of the number one ways that we show our allegiance to Him. And we can pray anywhere on this earth. Of course, except a camel resting area or a dump yard, an outhouse. You can pray in a bathroom, but we can't pray in an outhouse, or places like that. But Allah made this whole earth a place of worship so as to be kind to us and show mercy to us. I can stop what I'm doing and go find a tree to pray under if I'm outside. I can stop what I'm doing and go down the hall and pray inside a lounge room. So prayer is a deep-rooted expression of our devotion to Allah, and it helps us to maintain our Muslim identity. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Establish the prayer at the decline of the sun until the darkness of night, and also the Quran at dawn. Indeed, the recitation of the Quran at dawn is witness. Here Allah is telling us to establish the prayer and to recite the words of Allah, the Quran at dawn, because, subhanAllah, the angels witness us reciting. So as Muslims, we show our unity by all of us praying those 5 prayers within their time frame, no matter where we are in the world. And it separates us from the non-Muslims. The non-Muslims don't set aside their day to make prayer like we do, to think about Allah, to remember Allah, to praise Allah, to glorify Him. Nor do they walk around reading from what they call their scriptures. We read from our book throughout the day, especially in the morning. We begin our day remembering Allah. But unfortunately, guys, it's hard to maintain this living in a multicultural society. The non-Muslims make efforts to try to blur our distinctiveness. And even Muslims in Muslim countries, they set up efforts to try to blur our distinctivity as Muslims. For example, this is why I am against this. How many of you Muslims demand to have a praying place at work? You demand to have a multi-faith praying area at the airport. You want a multi-area praying place at your school, at the park, at your job. And then they call these places Abrahamic places of worship. This is garbage. You're trying to blend in and be like the Kafirs. The whole earth is a place of worship for us, guys. We can pray anywhere in it. I don't need no Kafir to set aside a room for me at my job to pray. I just take a break and go pray wherever I can pray. But we got Muslims today who want to be accepted. They want to blend in and be a part of the Kafir regime. So you're on your job demanding this. SubhanAllah, and you live in a Zionist country. That's part of America's Constitution. There's a separation between religion and state in America. That's Zionism. That's what the early settlers, that's what they celebrated the 4th of July for. They were separate from religion. We can now separate religion from state government. And here you are demanding a Zionist to give you a place to pray. You Muslims in America are twisted. Okay? So, we're going to have to learn how to bridge cultural differences. And it all begins with, first of all, learning your religion. I tell you guys all the time, every Muslim should have a teacher. That's an obligation. Seeking true knowledge and understanding of this religion is an obligation upon us all, because we might face misapprehensions about our prayer. You go to take a break at your job to pray and somebody sees you. They don't know what you're doing. They'll go and tell your boss, oh, he acting crazy, man. He doing exercises. He didn't use the bathroom. He working out. So now you're going to have to explain, this is not an exercise. This is a religious thing that I do. And so that's why you're going to have to be educated, because you might find yourself in a situation where you have to talk effectively in this cultural environment and explain yourself intelligently and let him know this is not an exercise routine. I pray as a Muslim 5 times a day. I don't need you to make any exceptions for me. I don't need you to give me no praying area, but I just need you to let me take my break when I take my break to use the bathroom. Let me go to take my break to use the bathroom, because they can't deny that. Now, what you do when you go to use the bathroom, whether you're doing number 1, number 2, or a prayer, ain't none of their business. All they got to know is you took your bathroom break. Okay? So you're going to have to be able to bridge the cultural differences. Or say, for example, your school is having something and you want to do a get to know Islam seminar. Or maybe your job allows the employees to have a get to know me day. And then you can speak about your religion and let them know that, we pray 5 times a day, and all of that. Okay. So we have to be able to bridge the cultural differences through educating ourselves first and foremost, and then educate the job. Okay, most jobs allow have sick time. You may have to take off from work, get sick once a month. If you're a man, you get sick once a month so you can go to the Juma prayer based on the hadith. Whereas any man who misses 3 consecutive Jumas opens the door to hypocrisy. So maybe one day you call off sick from work. Okay, and now the boss happens to see you driving to the mosque. Okay, you might have to explain to him, well, I was sick. How I use my sick time is my business. But then you might want to sit down and talk with them about how once a month, in your religion, you attend a Juma prayer. And maybe they'll allow you to switch days to have that off. Because we're encouraged as Muslim men, not women, to attend the Juma prayer, because this helps to keep our identity in tune, and also it helps to build unity. So again, living in a multicultural environment, you will find yourself in situations where you're gonna have to implement allegiance and disassociation, and you may have to, speak about your way of life to others. And while maintaining your identity, the people in turn can learn to appreciate you. You're a good employee anyway. This is an employee. He comes to work. Yeah, you let them know the reason why I'm trustworthy, I'm honorable is because I'm a Muslim. In my religion, I cannot break my promises. That's why whenever you call me for overtime, I always show up when other employees don't show up, because I gave you my word that I would be there, and I always show up. And see, this is how we make the non-Muslims appreciate us, respect us, and then they'll become more lenient. They'll give you that one Friday off a month or something. Does everybody understand that? So we have to learn to embrace our difference, that we are different than they. And in turn, through our education of our way of life, we can sit down and educate them. Maybe, for example, your neighborhood is having a cultural fest. That happens all the time. Here where I live in a multi-ethnic city. Cleveland is 50 different suburbs. We got all different European suburbs and Arabic and all of that. We have cultural fest all summer. They got one going on now. You can set up a booth, where you talk about your religion and you show and tell about the history of Islam and things like that, to educate the people, of our way of life.